Okay, so we're coming back now. The first thing that we're going to do is move into public comment. So if anyone would like to give public comment, please feel free to come up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. If there isn't anyone here to give public comment, I'm not going to read through all the guidelines. So I'll wait just one more moment. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. And move on to some more remarks. Actually, I'm not going to give more remarks, but I am going to just give a couple of updates, which first of all, I just wanted to thank Portland Adult Education. Last night we had a meeting with students there. Board Member Opperman, myself, and the superintendent were there, and it was a really lovely meeting, and we got to spend about an hour, hour and a half with students there, just hearing about the things that they really love about the district and things that we could do better. So just appreciate all the folks that are organizing those meetings and the ones showing up. And then I just wanted to report out on the committee structure, who will be on which committees. So we have three primary committees on the board. We have finance, personnel, and operations. We have curriculum and policy, and we have public affairs. So for finance, personnel, and operations, we're going to have Sarah Bryden continue to chair that committee. Julianne Opperman, Fatuma Noor, and Myelina will be on that committee. Curriculum and policy will be chaired by Julianne Opperman. Mickey Bondo, Ali, and Yusra Ali will also be on that committee. And then we have public affairs, which is going to be chaired by Fatuma Noor, Ali, Myelina, and myself will all be on that committee. And students, if you're interested in joining a committee, we can make that happen. So let me know if you're interested. And I also just wanted to note that board member Grant's seat will remain open until the June election, at which point it will be on the ballot along with the budget. So if you know anyone that's interested in running for school board, now's the time to start talking to them. And anybody on the board would be more than happy to get information to them. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the report of the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. First, just congratulations to our new board members. Welcome to the hardest job and worst paying job you can imagine. So it's good.
Most rewarding.
And most rewarding. Yeah, there are some positives to it. But just, we've had initial meetings and just really looking forward to working with you guys and with our student representatives joining. Ms. Contiba, it's great to have you back. Thank you. Your fellow students at Portland Adult Ed were great yesterday and just really good representatives of both what we need to continue to do and how we need to get better in that space. And so just thank you. And to our other reps, I look forward to working with you and getting student voice to continue to be such an important part on this board. Tonight's superintendent comments are going to be a little bit briefer. I have three topics that I want to go over. First, as many of you are probably aware, today is unofficially or officially Giving Tuesday. That is the International Day of Generosity and Community Support. And so you may have been getting appeals and emails from nonprofits and other organizations. But the Foundation for Portland Public Schools launched their annual appeal today as part of that effort. If you or someone you know would like to give to support Portland students, staff, and families, a donation to the foundation is a great way to do that. And I encourage everybody, both here around the table as well as at home, to please visit the website where you can get a great sense of the projects and how they're able to take philanthropic and individual gifts and really multiply the efforts of Portland Public Schools. And so thank you to Andy, who's leading that effort as their executive director, but to all the work that the foundation does, just partnering with particularly our staff and students on this work. And so just before we let go on Giving Tuesday, just know that that is an opportunity on which to make a contribution and have that impact on Portland Public Schools. Second piece is we've recently completed the fall season of sports. and are now into our winter sports. And so I asked for updates from our enrichment and athletic directors at our schools. And if you know them, they vary quite a bit in terms of length of updates that they will share. And so I'm just going to give a couple of highlights of the seasons for our Deering High School sports teams, as well as our Portland High School sports teams. And then at the next one, we'll do a little update on clubs and where they're at. Couple of quick, really exciting things about Deering High School. This year, all of Deering High School's fall teams qualified for the playoffs. That's the first time in 15 years that all of the teams at Deering High School have made the playoffs. Some particular highlights: Deering High School's football finished 8-2, the best record since 2008, and saw a number of individual recognitions, including Tavion being named the B South Player of the Year, and Forecaster Deering High School Athlete of the Year, Fall Athlete of the Year, and Coach Scully, who is also a teacher at Deering High School, being named the B South Coach of the Year. At the golf side, both Liam Brunel and Jackson Nali qualified for and competed in the State A Golf Championships. Girls soccer qualified for the playoffs, and Elsa Freeman was named Forward of the Year. She also signed a commitment to play and studied Division I at Boston College. And then boys and girls volleyball, both teams made the tournament and advanced to the regional semis or state semis, and Shea Fenton was named to the first team volleyball at Deering. So just congratulations to all of our Deering athletes. Actually, I forgot one. Ellis Wood was also selected as a first team All-State and finished 5th at the state championships in cross country. And so just a huge recognition to Deering High School. On the Portland High side, football was the Class A state champions. The boys cross country was the State A runner-up. Girls cross country also State A runner-up, and the boys soccer was the South A regional runner-up. So congratulations to those teams. And on the individual level, Aaron Johnson was the boys cross country Class A state champion. Samantha Moore was the girls cross country Class A state champion. And then 33 different students across Portland High School were named to the all-conference team. And so just really exciting conclusion to the fall sports there. The last piece, just less glamorous, but the board did ask for a quick update on the state of our ESSER or COVID funding. If you remember, this was about just under $10 million that the district had budgeted and spent last year, and actually the ending of that funding was September. In Maine, that funding happens through a reimbursement model. And so you have to submit and show documentation to the state to actually make sure that you receive the dollars for that 10 million. So even if we've spent it, we need to go with the state. And it can be a pretty arduous process to document every dollar. And I will tell you that the finance team works closely with a number of people, but also with individuals at the state level that shows documentation down to the tens and ones of dollars. And we are on track. So the state is right now reviewing June, but we're on track to have all of them reviewed and approved, and should be left with a zero balance there. And so there should be zero money left from that. And so no worries about the state recouping any of those funds. Chair, that concludes my remarks for the tonight.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so up next, we have our elementary schools update.
Good evening, everyone. You can join me right here. All right. All right. I think that's showing. So I just want to give a special welcome to our new board members. I am Angela Atkinson-Duina, the Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Schools, and once a month, I share a brief report on our work at the elementary level. Tonight, I am reporting on 3 topics. First, our parent-teacher conferences, which were a highlight during the month of November. Next, I am continuing to update you on our work around improving attendance. And this month, I'm focusing on our school-level attendance teams. And I've invited Assistant Principal of East End Community School, Kelly Thornhill, to join me for this topic. Kelly's been in her 7th year as an assistant principal at East End, so glad to have her experience and expertise with us tonight. And finally, I'm going to share with you some information about school-wide community meetings and how these support a positive school culture. So November conferences. So November was an important month for parent-teacher conferences, which included a new scheduling application through Reach My Teach. 7 of our elementary schools held parent-teacher conferences in November, and 3 of our elementary schools had them in October or will have them in December. These are important events for our parents, students, and teachers, and they are also major events for our system, including our multilingual center and interpreters, our transportation department, our community partners, and our technology team. It takes everyone working together to make these a success, and I especially want to thank our multilingual center and our interpreters for their leadership on these. We did note a few scheduling issues with transportation and our community partners, and so we're continuing to work on those and hope that we'll get those glitches worked out in time for the spring conferences. I also want to point out with the new scheduling app, it also through Reach My Teach has provided an easier way for us to collect data on our conferences. So I just wanted to share just a little data. Last week, we had collected data from 6 of our mainland elementary schools, and we scheduled 2,026 appointments, which covers 81% of students, and that about 30% of those appointments included interpreters. And we're just starting to dig into the data capabilities of that system, but I think that will help us see both who's actually attending, how we're doing with scheduling, how we're doing with scheduling with our families that need interpreters, and if we're seeing the same rate of attendance with those families too. So this is kind of a new system for us though, so we're just getting into that. And then I just want to bring us back, next focus on attendance teams. So we've talked a lot about attendance this year, and I'm just going to say that's because we love having students in our schools. And tonight I am highlighting the work of our school attendance teams. So all schools have a team that focuses on attendance. And this year we have been refocusing on team practices and effectiveness. I have Kelly Thornhill from East End Community School, who chairs the East End attendance team, to join me for this section because their team is a great example of this work. Some of the strategies that our attendance teams have used have included accessing support from our partner Count Me In, and reviewing the 3-tier model of support. Tier 1 strategies are for all students, go out throughout the whole school. And then our Tier 2 attendance strategies are for some students. And then our Tier 3 strategies would be more intensive for fewer students whose families might be going through a particularly difficult period. As a network team at the district level, with Joanna Frankel leading, we are building towards an attendance team playbook that all teams would have access to next year. And I just want to point out, East End's approach has shown an impact in the work. And so the next slide, skipped ahead, shows this table compares East End's data from September and October, which was the kind of data I had completed that we had complete by the time this report was due. So from last September and October, from last September and October last year to September and October this year. And we've seen decreases in chronic absenteeism for 5 out of our 7 grade levels for both September and October so far. So we're excited about that. And then what I'm sharing with you here is just a sample attendance team agenda. And I'm just going to turn it over to Ms. Thornhill now so that she can actually bring this work to life and tell you a little bit about their attendance team work.
Hello, thank you for having me. So yes, I'm Kelly Thornhill. I'm the assistant principal at East End Community School. We've had an attendance team since I began, and we've gone through ups and downs before COVID, and then trying to get our way back to the low numbers that we had before COVID for chronic absenteeism. Last spring, we met with Jess Anderson from Count Me In, and really she helped us to change our approach and our focus to be more preventative than reactive. With what we were doing previously, we would look at all of the students who were chronically absent and go student by student by student by student. And that worked okay before COVID because our numbers were much smaller, but now our numbers are much bigger with chronic absenteeism. So instead of, we would look at those students and we wouldn't be able to get through a grade level because we'd be talking about every student. So now we're doing more preventative measures. The first thing we do in our meetings is we look at last week's agenda and we go through the to-do list to see if we managed to go through and complete all of our tasks. We look at our data. We look at what we noticed, what are our bright spots, what have we improved. We look at how we're comparing to other schools just to see where we land. And usually we're kind of in the same ebb and flow with other schools. But really what we're focusing on right now are Tier 1 actions, which are preventative and universal actions for all students. And that's really helped our chronic absenteeism to go down. Last year at this time, I don't have the exact number, I was looking for it, but we were in the early 20s, maybe 21%, and currently we're at 12.9, I believe. So that's a big improvement. And during our meetings, they feel much more productive. We feel like we're really getting something done. So some of the things we've done this year to be preventative, universal actions, our school counselor went into every classroom and did a lesson on why attendance is important. We've had staff PD where we've talked about attendance, we've shown our data, we show our data in our staff newsletter every week. We have our teachers reach out on the 3rd and 5th absences to communicate. And, it's not asking families why their student was absent. It's just letting them know that we noticed their child was missing from school and we missed them that day. We can't wait to see them tomorrow. So just letting them know that they matter. We have attendance incentives. So we ask teachers to have incentives in their classroom. There are jewel jars or sticker charts. Whatever teachers are using, we want them to incorporate that in their classrooms. We send out communications to families. One thing we've started doing, we started it last month that was really fun, is a member from the attendance team goes into every classroom. So before that, we identify every student who's missed either 0 or 1 days the month before. So we just did that. We're going to be doing that this week for the month of November. And we recognize those students in front of their classmates. They get a Way to Shine ticket, which is our PBIS, our acknowledgement system, in front of the class for missing 0 or 1 days the month before. And then we give one to every student who's there that day too, because that day also matters. We're also piloting sending out a monthly attendance report to every parent, letting them know how many days their child missed the month before and how many total days that is. And then they can click on a link and get a little more information. We just started, so I don't have a lot of information on the impact yet. But this came about because our attendance team, there are parents on our attendance team, our school nurses, students in South Portland, students in Gray. And it just came about because not everyone knows how many days their child missed, right? We have that information as a school, and I think it's important that families have that information as well. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to have a good impact. And so those are our Tier 1 strategies, and our Tier 2 strategies haven't really changed. We'll focus on students who are chronically absent, who are at risk of being chronically absent. We talk about those students. We might discuss why. have they reached out to the school nurse? What are they telling our attendance secretary? Does the counselor know anything? And we kind of put together a plan based on that. So those are some of the strategies that we have at East End right now, and I look forward to seeing how our attendance grows throughout the year.
Thank you so much, Kelly. The last thing I just want to highlight and show you is a practice that we use at most of our elementary schools, and it is our school-wide community meetings. I was able to participate and join for 3 this past month. So these meetings celebrate the kind of school spirit and school culture. They provide opportunities for student leadership. So we have students leading meetings. They may showcase work. They celebrate each other in the community through shout outs. They also celebrate community successes in practicing school-wide expectations for being, for example, safe, responsible, and respectful. And they provide opportunities for the full community to come together, often including family members when that's possible. So I just have a couple images. This is from Talbot. This was their community meeting. You can see the Talbot Tiger is almost full with their tickets. And they did, I don't know if this is going to play, but the video that was here is a little dance party incentive that they won at the end of the week for whenever they filled the Tiger. So that was kind of fun. I also have, oh yeah, there we go. See, isn't that cute? It's even cuter with the music playing. But the next one, I just wanted, it's not going. Let's see. They're still dancing. Is Longfellow School. I'm also showing the new mural that was painted there over the summer, which highlights their school-wide expectations of being safe, open to learning, accountable, and respectful. So that was theirs. And then the last one was Presumpscot School. And and Presumpscot has their 5th grade students leading their school-wide community meetings. So as a final invitation, I just wanted, or for tonight, let you know that Talbot's next school-wide community meeting is January 8th from 7:40, 8:40. If you want to go, you might want to make sure and check with me because it could start a little later. And then I also wanted to highlight East End is hosting a community dinner on Monday, December 16th at 5:30. Food for these events is provided by Wayside, and Portland Rec is presenting also, and the math specialist will be teaching families the math game Shut the Box, and families will get to take that game home with them. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, Kelly and I could stay for a few minutes.
Beautiful. So board members and student representatives, do you have any questions? Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
I have a few questions, just a few clarification. On the Reach My Teach is a system then we scheduling student-teacher conference, or
So it's our messaging system that we use with families back and forth. But this year they did add the scheduling app so that parents were able to kind of select their time through that scheduling app.
Okay, if next time because I saw the 30% on the conference with interpreters, if we can have some breakdown by schools so we know, we have ideas what kind of percentage each school has with conference with interpreters.
Yeah. So we do have that data. Like I said, that this is kind of the first time that we've had easy access to that data, but I think it will be ready for the spring.
Okay, great. And for the second one, I really like what East End's doing around attendance reports. And I think what I want to see is that the feedback for parents and those kind of impacts, like a parent engagement around those attendance reports. So you talk about the preventive actions that you have done for the chronic absence. What's your big challenges as around the attendance teams to try to build those capacity around you guys?
Yeah, I would say our biggest challenge really was when we were focused on students who are already chronically absent. Okay. So that really took our whole meeting time, and we wouldn't get through the whole list of students. So now that we are refocused on school-wide strategies and interventions, I'm not seeing as much of a challenge because we're seeing our numbers go down, our chronically absent numbers go down.
That's it. That's the only one.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
That's what we'd like to hear. Other questions? Yeah, Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. As a follow-up to that last exchange, which I think is great, I'm curious about how you as a team are balancing the time that you're devoting to the community-wide strategies, which sounds great, with also like maintaining enough time to target as needed.
Yeah. The beginning of the school year, I think it was really important to focus more on those school-wide strategies. But now that we've got, we're not putting new ones in place each year. We're starting to maintain some of those strategies, the universal strategies. So the last couple of weeks, we've really been able to focus more on students who are either, one week we might focus on students who are at risk. The next week we might focus on students who are already chronically absent. So I think that that's helped a lot too. And each week we might have to change our focus a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Board Member Lena.
Thank you, Chair. Can you define for those of us that are new what chronically absent means? How many absences?
Yeah, 10% of the current daily count of how many days of school there are. So at the end of the school year, we don't want students to miss more than 17 days. Right now, I think we're at 50-something. So we're looking at students who have missed more than 5 days of school. That would be chronically absent. And that's for absences that are either excused or unexcused. Missing school is missing school.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Board Member Yusira Ali and then to Ali.
I just wanted to say that I really liked hearing about the incentives. I think it's a really good way to encourage everyone, and it's just so cute to see. I can imagine. And my one question is there like a month where you see the most absences? And have we passed that month, or is there like anything planned for the reasons why we see a lot of absences?
That's a good question. September, we're trying to figure everything out still. There are students who maybe have moved but haven't unenrolled, so they're accumulating absences. So in September, we're trying to figure that out, like who is going to be unenrolled, what school are they enrolled in, and trying to backtrack that. I don't know. That's a really good question if there's a particular month that has more absences, but it would be good to look at.
I think, and I'd have to, just reviewing the data, it's like those winter months, which you might expect with some illnesses going around happens, or like on the ends of breaks and vacation periods like that. Those can also be times. So I know we have had a couple of schools, for instance, the day after Halloween, Reiki held a big kind of community event just to make sure people showed up the day after Halloween. And so there are, things like that. It's we should be thinking a little bit more about like, when are those high months coming? How can we help kind of make some exciting things happen in school?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Board Member Ali.
Yeah, I just want to get a clarification. You said 50 days?
We've had about 50 days of school this year.
Okay.
The day count. So if
5% at the time.
Right, 10%. So if students have missed 5 or more days of school, then they would be considered chronically absent.
Okay.
At this point in the school year.
So altogether, 17% by
At the end of the year, yeah.
Okay. And then can I ask a following up question? Do you guys also try to verify if it's unexcused or excused absences? And then do you guys dig into reasons why, or is there criteria that you guys try to identify? Yeah,
so absences are excused if we know why the student. So if we've heard from the family. Reach My Teach is that's another way that we reach out to families. Say the student was absent today. Can you let us know why? And if we hear back from the family, it's an excused absence. It's when we don't know where a student is. If we don't know if student is home. If we haven't heard from the family, then it's marked as unexcused.
Okay, so there could be an excused absence more than 17%, and that's still okay? Or is it still on the...
It's still chronically absent. Excused or unexcused. If you have, it depends on your age and what grade level. If you have truant, you would become truant if you've missed a certain amount of days that are unexcused. So, but But chronically absent is excused or unexcused because you're missing school, you're missing the learning.
And does chronically absent also affect like if you're passing the grade or not?
Not at elementary, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sweet, thank you.
And just to jump in on this, I think there's sort of like a little bit of nuance I would add into it, which is that the definition of chronic absenteeism and truancy, right, are provided at the state level. And so those are areas where we don't have the ability to determine what defines it, but instead it's provided to us. I think where we have the ability is around what's the action that we take associated with it. And so if, for example, we knew that a student was out because of a long-term illness, right? They were out for 2 weeks because they were seriously ill over that time, the actions would obviously be very different that the school would take than for a student where the absences are always on a Friday or there's some other underlying issue. And so that's where I think the attendance team and the teachers try to really dig in to understand what is the there to figure out what their actions are. But in terms of the definition, they're provided to us, and the state law requires certain actions as a result of that.
Any other questions? Yes, Student Representative Fitzgerald.
You mentioned earlier that you send guidance counselors into the classrooms occasionally, and I was just wondering what kind of information the students are being given and if they have any like input or feedback.
So our guidance, it depends on the grade level, but our guidance counselor in September went into every classroom and talked about like what their goals should be for absences. I think she gave them 5 for the year, which gives them a lot of leeway, but it's a good goal. And talking about like, why do we stay home? Do we stay home because we have a runny nose? No, you can still come to school. So it's going into those types of things. And depending on the grade level, if it's kindergarten or 5th grade, it might be a different lesson.
Beautiful. Just thank you for all the ways that you're including mattering into your practices. Like I just heard that so loud and clear with the touch points with the families and the students. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you for that great update. Now we're going to move to the report of the secretary. First we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of November 19th, 2024. Are there any corrections to those meeting minutes? Okay, this is when, if you had a correction to the minutes, you would say them, but I'm not seeing any hands. So then the minutes are approved as distributed. And then we have consent items, which we haven't had in a while. I'm excited for this item to be back on the agenda. Are you going to read them?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Okay.
Under board policy KCD, the school board accepts by unanimous consent contributions made to the school district of durable goods of significant value and of symbolic importance. As required by policy, all of the donations are listed in the board memo by name and donation accompanying this item. Our practice is that each donor receives a written contribution acknowledgement expressing our heartfelt gratitude and for their tax purposes. This evening, the following donations were acknowledging to paths. So Bill Dodge Collision Center donated paint supplies to the auto collision program. Peterson Design Group donated a scanner printer for the commercial arts program. Piper Shores donated a number of rated face shields. Napa donated paint supplies for the auto collision program. Todd Dadolaris donated a 2005 Honda Pilot for the automotive program, and Catherine and Thomas Cope donated a 2017 GMC Terrain for the automotive program. For Portland High School, we also want to acknowledge that April and Dennis Noonan donated 8 Hannaford gift cards for the Portland High School food pantry.
Beautiful. Thank you all for those contributions. And now I'm going to move us into adjournment. So I'm moving. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. All those in favor of adjourning, you can do this by hand. Thank you very much. It's anonymous. So we are adjourned at 7:11.